Hey guys, thanks for listening to Audio Straight. I'm your host, DL Bester, and this is my first episode. I'm very excited to be starting this podcast over and doing things differently. I'm excited that you're listening and that you're here, and I appreciate you so much. So today I wanted to talk about Jack Harlow, Come Home, The Kids Miss You, his not debut album. I almost called it a debut album, but it's actually not. This is his second album, as well as this is my second time recording this. Mainly because I didn't want to come off as a hater. It's not that I was saying a lot of negative things, it's that I was very much dissective of the songs and him as an artist almost, and I didn't really want to come off that way because, it's my first episode, let's relax. But after reading and listening to some other reviews, I'm not the only one that felt that way. It seems like there's a lot of people that feel that way as far as the Twitter world. Twitter can be ruthless, as well as, just other reviews in general. Pitchfork giving this a 2.9, I think. So that speaks for itself. Before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe and follow this podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, then go ahead and subscribe and hit that like button, as well as that little notification bell. That way you'll be notified every time I upload new episodes, and check out any other links I have for you guys. So let's get right into it. This is Jack Harlow's Come Home, The Kids Miss You. So I want to talk about the reason that I decided to re-record this, and it's mainly because I do not really give newer artists much attention. I know that may be, why not? It's just because a lot of the music sounds all the same. Let's just put that out there. I am a millennial, and everybody does the samples over and over, and they all choose the same ones almost. It's very irritating. And so him being this TikTok superstar, I assumed it was going to be the same thing, but actually after listening to the album, it's nothing like that. The beats are not exactly the problem. It's the lyrics. The lyrics is 90% of the problems, 10% going to the beats as a whole. So when we're talking about the lyrics, there's just a lot of corniness and things that don't seem like they make sense, but they have their own meaning to him. But it just doesn't sound right. Like there's things within the instrumentals that just don't go together, and it doesn't flow like it should. And I feel like a lot of the lyrics were just meant to sound super trendy or super clever, but they just came off as corny, and that just seems like that's his kind of style. But when I first heard What's Poppin' with Tory Lanez and DaBaby, I didn't really think that he was doing, lyrics like that, which is mainly why I did want to listen to this album, not just to review it, but just to give it a listen to see if it was different from his other music and to see how he's grown as an artist. And this just seemed like this is his personality. He is this probably corny person in real life, and it definitely is making itself known in music. Cocky and, very just says whatever. Just whatever, even if it don't make sense. But, as long as it's selling, then that's the name of the game. Technically that's how just about everybody plays the game. Most of the time artists will do what sells instead of, what they're actually capable of, because they want to make money. Rightfully so. Everybody does. But I definitely expected more from this lyrically, especially with these features that he had, such as Pharrell, Justin Timberlake, and Drake, and Lil Wayne. I definitely expected more heat in the lyrics, and it just wasn't there. But I feel like this is working for him. This is getting people talking. More people are listening. We're all helping his album sales, and that's exactly what you want, because it doesn't matter what kind of coverage it is, because coverage is still coverage. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. We're still talking about this, and this is still helping him as an artist, which is great because that's the goal, that's the plan. But it's just the lyrics, they had no aggressiveness as they should have, especially with some beats on here, because a lot of the beats were actually very decent, with songs like First Class coming out and doing this Fergie Glamorous sample. It flows so nice, the beat is so nice, but it's just when he starts rapping, it's like, oh, okay. Saying things like, yes, I am, I am, saying stuff like that, like, what is that about? I don't know what all that was about, but the beats is nice. But you would actually assume that this was probably his first album with all of these features. This is actually his second album, and since he did that What's Poppin' remix back in 2020 with The Baby, Tory Lanez, and Lil Wayne, he actually collabed with Lil Wayne on this album on the track Poison, which was actually a smart move for him. I think all of the interviews and publicity that he's doing right now is great to let people see his personality, see how he is, and that's really what people want. People want more of whichever artist until they just drive them crazy. They just gonna take as much as they can of that celebrity until they drive them insane. And that's how the world is with media coverage. It's very interesting to see, though, but it's interesting to also see what he has to offer, and how this is just helping his sales in general, just talking about it. But I think that majority of people can agree that when it comes to a lot of his lyrics, he just minimal effort, low effort, really, almost none, like hardly. It just was like, oh, that sounds nice, and then I'll rap it, kind of thing. There was so much that just didn't seem like it should have gone together, but they threw it together. I also find it interesting that people have actually compared him to Drake. I know they've been hanging out a lot, and they was at the Kentucky Derby and all that. That's cool. And Drake is kind of taking him under his wing, and that's great. But I feel like Drake does that to pretty much not all, but a lot of new poppin', trendy artists. He will kind of put them under his wing and all that. But I think it's interesting that people have compared him to Drake. I would not compare Jack Harlow to Drake at all. I don't know who's doing the comparisons these days, but I would not compare them. I think that Drake has had some boring songs and maybe some songs that sound like others, but it's not something that's like a whole entire album's worth. Like, I can still listen to a whole Drake album and still feel like I'm listening to his first, what was it called? I can't even think of it. His first actual mixtape was Room for Improvement, but I was not thinking of that one. I was thinking of So Far Gone, because that's when I actually heard of Drake, I believe, is with So Far Gone, and it was very impressive. So I like that Drake can go back and reference himself because it's been that long. You can listen to Drake and then still feel like you're listening to his earlier days. And I think that just shows the growth right there. The fact that he can transition himself. He can grow now and then still look back and still reference those old days from when he first started. It shows that, he's actually somewhat humble. We don't really know because we don't know him, but somewhat humble. And the fact that he hasn't forgotten where he started. And these days, that's definitely rare. You don't really see that in artistry, but this isn't about Drake. We're talking about Jack Harlow, so let's stick with that. I will say that this is a great timing for Jack Harlow. He's basically sandwiched himself in between album that just dropped from Future, which I might cover Future, I'm not 100% sure, and Kendrick Lamar's album is coming out soon. And this is really bold because of the fact that everybody's going to automatically listen to Kendrick Lamar and he's gonna have a bigger audience. Come on, it's Kendrick Lamar. He has a bigger audience than Jack Harlow. So of course, this is making a statement. The fact that he's putting himself right in between there to his team, this was a really good move. And I'd say it's pretty bold, because Jack Harlow is still considered a new artist. This is very bold. And he's nowhere near on the levels of Future or, Kendrick Lamar. Now we can talk about Future's lyrics, but we're not, because I haven't listened to the album yet, and we're not gonna talk about Future's past lyrics and all the references in there, but he's not quite at those levels yet. So this is making a statement. He's basically saying like, hey, I can hang with the crew, I can hang with the big dogs. And that's what he's saying anyway, because he's putting himself around Drake and all of these other top named celebrities. I will say that it seems like with some of his lyrics, he had a hard time finding things to talk about, and it shows. It really shows. It shows like not exactly the little kid in him, but like the almost immaturity. Because like some of the lyrics are just so bad, you just have to chuckle about them. It's just like, that wasn't good, but it's entertaining is what it is. But I think that that's good for him, that's working for him, so that's good for him. I do believe that just about anybody can rap. Anybody can rap, but to make an impact is something that's truly special. I'm not saying he's not making an impact, because he obviously is. I mean, everybody's talking about him still, after his album has been out for a week, or a little over a week, we're still talking about him. And he's all over TikTok, and his song, he did the sample of Glamorous. So he's obviously making some kind of impact. But there's always, room for growth. I'm just going to say that. I feel like the main reason that I kept listening to the album is because I was expecting more. Especially on the song with Drake, that Churchill Downs. I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this first, because this is, even though it wasn't the first track or anything, I felt like you got Drake on here. You're trying to make a statement, a very, very big statement. So with that being said, I was like, okay, I'm going to listen to this first. I'm going to give this, not exactly set the album up to sound like this, because you can't, but, because it's not a Drake album. But wow, Drake's feature set the song, carried the whole album, actually. And I was blown away as to how much better his verse was than the whole album. Just incredible. But I do want to talk a little bit more about First Class. I do think it's really decent. Great instrumentals for sure. I really like the way that they put it together and they switched it up. Just very nice. But some of the lyrics just were bad. And they needed to be thrown out, honestly. Also, I feel like there's a lot of times when he raps and he just lets the instrumentals do their thing. That's good, but like, we came to hear you rap. That's why we're here. If we want the instrumentals, we'll look them up. But we're here to hear what you have to say. I also really enjoyed hearing Snoop Dogg. I know that, that's something that was highly unexpected, especially, at least for me, especially because there's no like credit given to him. So I thought that it was really fun that Snoop Dogg was there. Didn't expect it, but also very fun, very entertaining. I also believe that with each feature on this track is like a homage to that artist specifically. So like Drake's song has his style all over it. The same thing with Lil Wayne, the same thing with Pharrell, the same thing with Justin Timberlake. And I feel like if Justin Timberlake came out with an album, it would probably sound more like that song. I'm not exactly sure, because if I'm not mistaken, it's been a while since Justin Timberlake came out with music, aside from doing a feature here, a feature there, or doing a song for a soundtrack. I wouldn't really say that this album is like anything that I've heard, but I will say this definitely showcases his personal style, which is obviously the point, and it's different. It's not really reminding me of G-Eazy or any other rappers in his area. It's giving his own kind of forte, and I think it's mainly just because people would assume that some of this is just really corny and not say it out loud. I also think it's really cool he made the cover of Spotify's New Music Friday, and it's still a whole nother week after the album has been dropped, so I think that that's really great for him, and his team did a great job. Of course, I like Churchill Downs mainly because of Drake, and the fact that he literally killed it automatically. But I do believe that Jack's energy should have been way more just like hyped up. This kind of sets it up almost as like, yeah, I can keep up. Yes, I have the pull to get these artists, but I can still do my own thing and still be really relaxed and chill if I want to. I think that's great, but like, come on now, you're not competing with Drake because you kind of can't, but at the same time you are competing with Drake, you know what I mean? Y'all are both rappers. His goal is to always be number one, and that's automatically going to be your goal. So why would you not give it your all on that song? Because I feel like he didn't give it his all, and maybe he did, but it just didn't come across that way. I give this album a C. I give it a C just because I didn't like that there was much, there was a lack of creativity in a lot of his lyrics. It was more just like putting things together just to rhyme, and some things had meaning, some things made absolutely no sense. Like, I'm bouncing, I think I need some counseling. From I'll do anything to make you smile, or I do anything to make you smile. Like, what does that even mean? What is that line about? Also, can't lie, I'm on Angus Cloud 9. I don't know how he says it, but I'm assuming it's like that. And that's actually from First Class. I think First Class is probably the best track on the album, to be honest. But if you didn't know, he's referencing Angus Cloud, who plays Fez or Fezco from Euphoria. I am an avid Euphoria watcher, so I automatically knew he was talking about Angus, and I was like, oh. Not that I just thought that was just so bad, but maybe Angus will appreciate it. Why not? He's made it really far. I think anybody is gonna appreciate a song with their name in it. Why not? So there's actually a few sites saying that the album is falling flat and his sales are really not up to what they should be, but for a second album with those features, you actually would expect more. So I think they're right. I don't really think Pitchfork was that wrong for giving him a 2.9. I feel like that was perfectly, what this album projected, basically. I do think that it should have been better, honestly, and I think a lot of people would agree with that. And also the fact that he's still considered, this new up and coming artist. I feel like 100,000, is a pretty good projection, but that's my opinion. Like I said, you got all these pretty good features. Lil Wayne, Justin Timberlake, Pharrell, Drake. You have very good features, and your sales should be doing a lot better than that. But let's see the final numbers. Let's see those come out. So that is all I have for you guys. Thank you so much for listening to my first episode. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and like and subscribe. That way you'll be notified when I upload. If you are listening on Anchor or anywhere else, then don't forget to follow and subscribe. That way you'll be notified every time I upload new episodes. I hope that you enjoyed this review, as well as my opinion on Jack Harlow. Come home, the kids miss you. Until next time, this is Audio Street. Peace.